Hi, this video is an on-page search engine optimization tutorial for beginners in 2019 and really beyond, because this hasn't really changed in a very long time. The basics of this are pretty much the same. There's a lot of misunderstanding about what goes on, what really matters here. I'm going to try to bust through that here. There's a ton of articles out there, people writing about SEO and on-page SEO. They've never actually really ranked a website. They're just regurgitating other people's content. They're hired writers a lot of the time. I don't hold anything against them, but there's a lot of misinformation out there, and Google perpetuates part of this as well. So in this video, I'm actually going to show you a big myth and a critical before step that you need to do before you start your on-page SEO. So make sure you watch the video all the way through. Okay, so here's one of the important things here. On-page SEO is actually very simple from a technical standpoint. There's 5 things that really matter. That 99% of the time they matter. 99+% for what really matters on your on-page SEO. There are exceptions in extreme cases, but by and large, these are the 5 things that you need to focus on. And really, the first 3 give you most of the benefit, and then the last 2 are actually not nearly as important, but still important enough to mention. So the first and most important by far is your domain name. This is the single biggest thing that you can do to help you rank. For example, if you were a law firm and you were looking to rank for lawyer-based search phrases, having lawyer or law firm, or if you're an injury lawyer in your domain name, or injury law firm, that's going to make it a lot easier than Joe and Schmo .com. Okay, you're just going to rank way better, and especially when it comes to being at the top of the search engines, the amount of work needed for a website that has a really poorly optimized domain name versus a website that has a really highly optimized domain name is exponential. It's an order of magnitude at least in terms of work. So what exactly is your domain name? So the example.com, that would be your domain name. This is not your domain name, this is a web address. So you can see right here, domain name right here, this is the extension and this is the name. And actually, technically, the www is a subdomain. There's other types of subdomains. Now, this doesn't mean that you should find your biggest keyword. Let's say you want to rank for women's shoes and try to get womensshoes.com. I still think that you should put some branding in your domain name. And so you shouldn't do it. You should be like Sally's Women's Shoes. That would be much better. Or flavor, as I like to put it. There should be some flavor for the long-term value of your business. Now, if you already have a domain name and you've already built a website on it, it's actually pretty simple to do what's called a 301 redirect to the new domain. And even if you had that domain on business cards, it would immediately take someone from the old domain to the new domain. Okay, so that's not a difficult process. If you'd like to do that, maybe comment below, and I'll point you to some resources that will help you there. Or if you have any questions about this one specifically, this is so important. Now, there's a lot of people out there that say, "Oh, domain name doesn't matter anymore." That's just not true. This is based upon real data, actual data. This isn't based upon what should be true, what people want to be true. This is based upon my actual real testing of hundreds and thousands of sites and what matters for them, and testing all the different things that you can change.
Cheers, mate!
So number 2 and 3, basically tied, are going to be the titles and URLs of your pages. And here's one of my websites. And this is a page on Bluehost hosting. Now this is actually, a little quick aside, this is a very common, this is what a lot of people promote when they promote hosting companies. They promote Bluehost. I've tried over 100 hosting companies, and actually I don't recommend Bluehost. So go check out this site and this page to figure out why. They used to be really good, and then they changed, and I used them for a really long time. But I think a lot of people kind of have they've been coasting off a reputation that stopped being true like 5 years ago. Anyway, so if I run the mouse over this, you can see what pops up: Bluehost hosting review -- my hosting review. That's the title, and this is the URL. So those 2 things matter a whole lot, and they're basically tied for second. So let's call second and third. Maybe the title has a slight edge. I think it depends, but and so again, you don't want to over optimize it. I'm kind of going a little bit maybe a little bit over optimized here, because I've reviewed twice in the title and reviewed twice in the URL. Maybe I should clean that up and make it a little less optimized from an on-page standpoint. But it depends on a lot of other factors. It's a balance between this and other things. But overall, know that these matter a whole lot. Okay, so, and then fourth and fifth are going to be your interlinking and your H tags. So interlinking is, so you can see here, I've got a bunch of different pages, and what pages you link to, and what pages a page links to, and what pages on your site it links, or linking to it, matter. And so I have a bunch of different hosting companies that I check out here, and I try to keep all like the Bluehost pages compartmentalized to where only the Bluehost pages link to the Bluehost pages for the most part. And for like another hosting company, only their, they got a bunch of pages for that, only those link to each other, okay? And so that matters because you're telling Google what each page is most relevant to with this. Also, when you go do your off-page SEO, which I mentioned in this video, then the way your pages are interlinked matters because of how your juice flows. Now, if you're like doing SEO for like a plumber that has like 7 pages on their site, this matters a whole lot less. The more pages on your site, the more this matters. Okay, so this is an I believe this is an H1 tag. Now I'm using WordPress here, so WordPress does this automatically, and so I don't really need to worry about this that much. But if you do put some H tag, there's H1, 2, 3, and I think 4. I don't think there's H5. I don't know off the top of my head. But Google's going to take those as a little bit of a cue. Again, it's not going to usually make or break you, but it can have an effect. So actually, if I press Control U, it takes me to the source code, and I actually found the H1, so it is an H1 right here. And so that is going to matter as well. But most of the work is actually going to be done by the domain name, the title, and the URL. Okay, so what is the critical before first step? It is keyword research. And I think there's a lot of myths about this as well. You don't need, there's a lot of fancy tools that have like these calculations that are based upon an estimation combined with an estimation, You can never reduce the competition. A lot of times they use this to try to find like low competition keywords. You can never really reduce the competition with a single number. You have to look at several things. There are some things that if it's really extreme can show, okay, this is super low competition. But in my experience, the tools that I've seen for this don't work really well. So really you just kind of have to use your brain to a certain degree and have some experience looking at different sites. So this is something that you can do the basics of it as a beginner, but you need a lot of practice to really be able to understand how competitive it is. But at the same time, sometimes you can just see, so for example, if we just did like women's shoes, okay, we can just know that this is something that is going to be competitive. You see like a big DSW, Nordstrom, Zappos, Macy's, Payless. You can see all these massive companies. This is going to be very competitive. You really would basically look for someone who's like a small site, maybe where their homepage ranks, to see if it's low competition. And again, to say that it's like, to try to put it on a linear scale of 0 to 10 or 0 to 100 is just completely false. But a good way to go about this to keyword research is to just go, okay, well, discount women's shoes. So it's making suggestions. It's going to be a little bit easier. The longer the search phrase, the easier it's going to be. Now maybe we can find cheap shoes online free delivery. Okay. I bet this is much less competitive. I bet we can see shoes.com. Let's try to find someone. Well, this is still probably going to be pretty competitive. I imagine this gets searched a lot. It used to be you could use the Google keyword tool to do a lot of free research, but now you have to be bidding on ads, and it's just kind of janky now. I use a tool called Keyword Revealer. I'll put a link down below, revealer.com. It's like $10 a month, and it does pretty much what I want to do. It doesn't try to do more than what I want it to do, and it's a pretty inexpensive tool that I think is very good for what I need. Okay, so here's the exception, one of the biggest exceptions to these factors, and I'll give you a couple of exceptions actually. So number one would be, there's something I call engagement SEO. So if your content is really terrible, you can actually still rank. These five factors still matter a lot. And it would be how Google initially evaluates you. But eventually, as they start sending visitors to your site, they actually see a lot of what those visitors do. And in a lot of cases, they'll see all of what those visitors do. And if your content is terrible and people are responding really poorly to it, then you're going to have issues with staying ranking. And once you get that terrible reputation in terms of answering someone's queries or giving the visitors what they want, it's going to be very difficult for you to rank well ever again, at least that specific page, and maybe even the site if you have a lot of this going on. There's an easy solution to this, which would be put videos on your site. You can even embed other people's YouTube videos. Google owns YouTube. They're happy to send those to you. So videos are the most engaging form of content. So this is sort of an exception, but I actually put that into something separate. It's really its own bucket. I wouldn't really consider that to be on-page SEO. That's more engagement SEO. Another exception, to give you an example, would be site speed. So technically, site speed is a factor, but really it's not. So the difference between your site being taking a 3/4 of a second and a full second to load in terms of your rankings is basically nothing. However, if your site speed is really, really poor, then it's going to affect your rankings. And there are some simple solutions to this. There's something called a CDN, or content delivery network, that can take your site speed from, I had someone who was helping, and they had a site speed of 15-second load time, which is huge because people, think about it, people are going to click on their search result and they're not going to wait 15 seconds for it to load. They're going to go back to the search results and click on another site, which is super bad for them, which goes back to the engagement SEO. But also Google has a separate algorithm. The Panda algorithm does actually look for this, and if your site is super slow, they'll progressively rank you worse and worse. And so, you know, this is a pretty easy solution to do a content delivery network and set that up, and in 5 minutes have your site suddenly be super, super fast, okay, and fix that. So, and there are some other exceptions, but by and large, you know, if you focus on domain name, title, URL, interlinking, and H tags, even if you just focus on domain name, title, and URL, you're probably going to be well ahead of most people, and you can go and focus on some of the other things. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please comment. I definitely will respond. If you disagree with me, that's fine. If you think my face is ugly, that's fine. Please comment below. If you thought this video was valuable, please like it and subscribe. And thank you for watching, and have a great day. Bye.